Hey guys, thanks for clicking on my video. Hope you're having a great day wherever you are, whatever's going on. Just wanted to show you my new rig that I've just built. I'm super excited about this, first one I've ever done, and it's working pretty good. I've made a few mistakes, got a few things wrong. Like anything you do for the first time, you learn your lessons and you do it better next time. So I'll show you what I've got here and what I've done and what I've learned. So if you're planning on building one of these, which I highly recommend you do, if you're looking for a little hobby, man, it's a lot of fun to put together. It really was, and it's already making some money, so hey, who can complain? A hobby that pays for itself. Well, maybe one day. So here's what I got to put everything together. One thing I found super interesting, it's been a long time since I built a computer, and the technology has changed like quite a lot, so I've learned a lot just doing this. The new Intel processors and the way the new motherboards work, all the new interfaces on them. That was quite hard, finding a motherboard that was gonna do what I wanted it to do, and I have actually not really bought the one I should have bought, and so I'll talk about that a little bit. But there's ways around these things, but I'll just explain why. If you can choose the right motherboard, it's probably the most important thing really for getting this project right. So what do we got? We've got the Intel Core processor. Now obviously you have to make sure you get the one with the right socket and the right model that's supported for your motherboard. So that's not too bad, because you can get online, you can look at the specs of the motherboard, and you'll be able to figure out which one you need for the motherboard that you're buying. That one of the problems that you may have, depending on where in the world you are, is that all this stuff, anything that is useful for mining, is super hard to get right now. And you end up having to sort of make a compromise here and there, or figure something else out. But anyway, so I went with this motherboard because it was pretty cheap. It was less than 200 bucks, New Zealand dollars. It's about 100 US, I guess that is. And it's got everything you need. So it takes an Intel processor, which obviously if you're going to go AMD, you need to get a motherboard that supports AMD. But I went with this one. Both will work, but you want to research the CPU, because one thing about this main board, this motherboard, it supports 10th and 11th generation CPUs, Intel CPUs. And I bought a 10th generation CPU because the 11th generation ones are about 3 times the price right now, like 400 bucks for a CPU, which you do not need for a mining rig. But then I found that one of the things about this board that I was planning on using, the M.2 port, that one there under the heatsink, is not usable unless you have an 11th generation processor. So that was my first mistake. That meant I was down one slot. Okay, so I was planning to be able to use 8 slots, and of course I couldn't. So, and you can't even do anything in the BIOS to change that. If you don't have the 11th generation processor, it just disables that that port, and you can't use it. So there goes that idea. So that's alright. As we were saying, there's ways around these things, and I've ended up using one of these 4-in-1 PCI adapters, and that seems to be working just fine. But I mean, that was 59 bucks, right? So if I had included that towards the cost of the motherboard, I could have got a motherboard that had that extra slot, and wouldn't have needed to worry about it. But this is the thing, this is what you learn. So that's all good. So that was the first thing that I did wrong. The second thing is the PSU. So I bought an 850 watt Corsair PSU, really good PSU, and I bought a 650, and the plan was to use both of them. So you can only use 80% of the capacity of the PSU if it's rated for 80%, which these ones are. You see, that's the 80 plus gold. That means it's 80% efficient, and you don't want to exceed that so that you don't overload the PSU. But the problem is this frame is big enough for 8 GPUs, but it is not big enough for 2 PSUs, and it won't fit. So at the moment I've got it sitting on the desk next to it, but this is my build desk, right? I just want to build it here, then I want to be able to pick it up and shift it, and I don't want to have a bunch of different components hanging off it. So I've bought the wrong size frame, in other words, or I should have bought just one bigger PSU for this size frame. So there you go, another lesson learned. So I've either got to swap that one out for 1000 watt or better PSU and keep this frame, or just get a bigger frame. And as it turns out, getting a bigger frame is way cheaper than getting a bigger PSU, especially since I've already bought 2 of them. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to order, or I have ordered, a 72 centimeter frame. This one is a 60, and that will mean that I can run up to 12 GPUs if I want to, if I can get the motherboard to support that. So this motherboard supports up to 16 PCIe lanes, but of course that will mean using multiple 4-into-1 adapters, and whether or not that will work and be stable, we'll have to see. But stay tuned, because I am going to give that a go, and I'll make a separate video about that, and we'll see how that goes. And actually in that video what I'll do is I will make it a build video step by step, and I'll show you how everything goes together. I realize if you've done one of these before, you'll know all this stuff, and you'll probably actually have a laugh at some of the things I've got wrong. But if you've never done it before, and you've never even built a PC before, then maybe it'll be useful to you. So subscribe if you like. Obviously it's a brand new channel, but I'm going to make a few new videos up and coming, and you might learn something from some of them, who knows. So what else have we got on here? We've got obviously only 3 fans. There's 2 more coming. I'm still waiting for those to come from Amazon, and I'm waiting on the last 2 cards. So the GPUs are the Asus TUF 1660 Supers. So I did a lot of research on these. Obviously this is where you're spending most of your money, or by far most of your money. These guys are doing all the work. They're your workers, and they're expensive, right? So you want to buy the right ones for what you want to achieve, and depending where you are, and depending on how much scalpers are ripping you off for these damn things, will determine which cards you're probably going to choose for your rig. So I went with the 1660s, the 1660 Supers to be exact, because for the price point they were definitely the best that I could find anyway. I did tons of research, been on all over YouTube, checking all these out, checking out reviews, looking at hash rates. And the 1660 Supers, so they were $6.99 here in New Zealand, $6.99 New Zealand dollars, about $300 US dollars or $330 US dollars, something like that. Obviously we pay a bit more for stuff over here anyway. It's cheaper in other countries. That's just the premium you pay for living on a small Pacific island. But yeah, these cards I thought were great value for money, and I wanted them to be all the same. That was one of the things I decided from the get-go, again from all the research I've done. If you've got all the same cards, then it just makes programming them that much easier, and it makes your whole rig more stable, is what everyone has said, right? So there's no problem. You can mix and match cards to your heart's content. You can have 10 different cards if you want to, but it's just going to be more work, and you might lose some stability by doing that. But hey, look on other YouTube videos you'll see where people have done that and been super successful. So this is just my 2 cents anyway. So what I had to do, right, and I'm being fussy here obviously, was I wanted the cards to be exactly the same, but that was just not going to happen because no one had all the identical cards. So this is, I ended up with 3 of these. So this is the Tough Gaming GeForce 1660 Super, just the 1660 Super, okay? And then I got 3 of those, ended up with 3 of those, and then the rest is this one, the 1660 Super Overclock Edition. And I thought, oh heck, they're going to be different. You know, I'm going to have to program T-Rex for 2 different cards. Oh well, we'll make it work. Turns out they're exactly the flipping same. There's literally no difference. Certainly no difference in physical appearance. The only thing I could find that was different is one of them has stainless steel 304 printed on the front plate. If you can see that there, the camera adjusts. So the Overclock Edition has that, and the regular edition does not. And that was literally the only difference I could find. They were packaged slightly differently. The Overclock cards came wrapped in plastic, and the other ones were just in their normal anti-static bags, which I preferred because that plastic is a pain in the neck to get off, and it's not great for the planet. So yeah, that was literally the only difference, and they were the same price. So there you go. And I've got more of those coming, so I've got 12 of them in total, which are going to go on that bigger frame. So what else have we got here? Try not to drop the camera. This is the motherboard, in case you're wondering what that looks like on the box. And man, I thought for what you get, I thought it was actually really good value for money. And obviously there's not as many slots as I was hoping. I'm not being able to make use of the M.2 slot for PCI because of the CPU dependency, but that's okay. I'm going to figure that out, and I may even keep this one for another project, another 8 GPU rig that I might do, and order the 450, I think it is, because that comes with 6 slots. It does away with the M.2. It's built specifically for the 10th generation processor, and it comes with 6 slots, so I think that's going to be the way to go. So stay tuned. If I can get a hold of one of those, I think I will use it on that up and coming project, and I think that's going to be great. So what else did we get? The fan pack. These fans are actually really cool. So again, technology has changed from the boring old fans that we used to put into servers years ago that make a heck of a racket. These fans are super quiet, you can't even hear them. They're programmable, so you can like make them do all sorts of weird stuff, from color changes to, I don't know, dancing. Some kind of dancing graphic mode. So if you feel like turning your rig into a disco, hey, have at it. They come with this little hub here that you just stick down. You plug into your main board, into your motherboard, and then it has a SATA connector for power. And what else? So obviously I've got more of those coming, and I bought all that Amazon had at the time, which was 1 pack. Standard CPU cooler, that's all you need. It's not doing anything too terrific. 1 8GB stick of RAM, again, that's all you need. You don't need 32 gigs of RAM just for running the mining software. You can see the adapters that I've got there, and I've got an a little tiny SSD on the board using one of the M.2 slots, and so that works a treat, and super cheap. It was like 30 bucks I think for that. And what else? So something that surprised me was that the motherboard didn't come with any type of power switch, so you can just short the connectors with a screwdriver if you're careful, and that'll turn the board on for you, but obviously it's not ideal. But then I found that this little power button, it didn't come with the CPU, it actually came with the frame. It was hiding away in one of the boxes, and I was like, that's weird. So I've run the cable under the main board and into the two pins there, and that works a treat. Turns the system off and on. No dramas, it's little things, eh? What else can I say about this? It's probably about all to mention about the rig and what I've learned and putting it together so far. Now you can see T-Rex is mining away. You can see the hash rates getting 31.9, between 31.9 and 31.5. So if you are interested in getting that tiny little bit of extra hash rate, that is the three fastest ones are the overclock edition. Okay, so there is a tiny little difference in efficiency there. The main thing that's different about them physically, if you fire up the NVIDIA Inspector, I'll try and do this with one hand. The one thing that you notice that is different, and I guess it is significant, is that the non-overclock edition has micron memory. I'm not sure if you can see that because it's quite grayed out, but it uses micron memory, and the overclock edition uses a Samsung memory. So it does seem like the Samsung memory is a little bit more efficient. So you'll see the power draw is less and the speed is slightly more. Yeah, so 61 watts, 58 watts for 31.53 mega hash compared to 72 watts, 62, 74 for 31.9, or sorry, rather that one and that one. So it's just a tiny little difference, but I guess if you had a whole bunch of cards, it could add up over time, right? So that's something to consider. So I'll show you my settings that I'm using for T-Rex, because that took me quite a while to figure that out. Fair bit of research, but you might find that useful, specifically these settings here. So we've locked in the power limit at 70, the fans at 60, so that's a target temperature rather than a fan speed, and it will automatically adjust the fans to maintain that temperature. And then this is a great setting here. This actually locks in your core clock, and that has a massive impact on the power that you use. So that's a really great setting to know about. And then the memory clock for the Samsung memory is 900, was the best I could find for the most mega hash for the least amount of power. And the intensity, well, that's just how much of your computer resources you're going to allow your rig to use. So up to a maximum of 25. So if you've got a decent amount of memory and a decent CPU, you can go 20, which is what I've done, and that'll still give you enough resource to be able to use your computer for, you know, keeping an eye on it, running programs you want to and whatever. So there you go. Battery's going flat on my camera, so I've obviously rambled on enough. That's my rig. Stay tuned, and I'll make another video when I do my R2, my second edition, and I'll apply the things that I've learned and see if we can get it doing what we want it to do. Cheers guys, stay safe, all the best to you and your families wherever you are. Thanks for watching my video. Bye.